Hey team, it's Conrad Tracy, addiction coach from Melbourne, Australia. Smart people do not stay stuck because they are lazy or unmotivated. They stay stuck because they are trapped in a loop, and it's one of overthinking, procrastinating, and overanalyzing the idea of actually getting help. Now, you know the type, it might be you, okay? You're collecting insights, you're binging podcasts, you're reading books, but nothing is actually changing. Now, that gap between knowing and doing, that is the real issue. So meanwhile, others who are less prepared and less informed are taking action, okay? They're applying what they learn and they're getting results quietly and consistently. This video is going to break that pattern down for you. You're going to learn why smart-driven people over-intellectualize change and how to shift from knowledge hoarding to consistent execution. I'll also show you the exact system that I use to help high performers build real momentum and keep it. So let's make a start. Now, if that sounds like you, you're probably feeling some very familiar frustrations. And I reckon you might be feeling a little bit stuck. You might be very easily triggered, and you might be feeling inconsistent. And also you might be feeling like you can't get out of your own way. Okay, so like I keep on trying to run my own race and it's just not working for me. Now, stuck is hard because we know success. If you've done well in life and right now you're stuck in a pit of despair and you can see the mountain that you want to climb but you can't get started, that's really frustrating. Easily triggered. So every time we go to climb that mountain and something happens in life, work, relationships, we just slide back down into the pit of despair with our drugs and our alcohol and our isolation. And the inconsistency. So, you know, if we do manage to make a start, we're fantastic and we go great guns, but it doesn't last for very long. So when we're good, but when we are bad, we are really, really bad. Now, getting out of your own way is really key here. And I'm going to explain that to you right now. So the mistakes that you're making, this avoidance, sometimes it's an intellectual superiority. It's maybe looking for a magic pill, not taking any action, letting your pride get in the way, right? Or letting things like, privacy. I can't let anybody know that I'm going through this. They're all subconscious pulls, okay? So like every part of you that's telling you you don't need help, you can do it on your own, you'll be able to figure it out, you can't tell anyone. It's a part of you that wants you to be stuck and inconsistent and in that pit of despair, because that's where you can keep on drinking and keep on taking drugs and keep on isolating, okay? So they're mistakes that I've made and they're mistakes that I've seen a lot of people made. There's no judgment here, okay? But you have to stop kidding yourself and you have to be able to see the forest from the trees and recognize that subconscious pull. Now, the key metaphor here is that learning, it requires application, okay? So learning something does not mean that you integrate it, okay? You can read a book about Buddhism, doesn't mean that you're going to practice Buddhism and get enlightenment, okay? It takes a lot of practice. And you've heard that saying, you can't learn to swim without getting wet, okay? It's the same with recovery, it's the same with identity integration. You actually have to go into a sandpit, practice and play and get feedback and results and iterate on it, okay? So I like to think about this, it's like, if you sit on YouTube and you watch a guitarist, right? You might watch the best guitarist in the world and sit there for hours and hours and hours. Like, it's not going to make you a guitarist, okay? Unless you get a guitar, you sit down, you put a metronome on at like 50 BPM and you start your first C major scale, right? And you figure out where to put your hands and your fingers, and that is the work, okay? And you're going to up, you're going to make mistakes, you're going to sound terrible, it's going to be embarrassing to play in front of people, but when you do, you'll be like, oh, I can play guitar, right? And you know, changing your life is much deeper work than learning an instrument, although creativity is very, very important. Now, I want to go a little bit deeper today. There's lots of information on the internet and lots of people talking about behavioral change. And I think that's important, but like, you can get to behavioral change yourself, all right? I'll say that, like, if you actually take some action and you look at yourself in the mirror and go, you know what, these are the things that I'm not doing right, and I'm probably going to do the reverse of them, that's a good place to start. But, you know, reframing is not the most modern solution and it doesn't address the deeper work, okay? So I don't think it's about behavioral change. I think it's about identity integration, Okay, so when we work with people, we help them reset their biochemistry, we help them solve the behavioral issue they're facing or the emotional issue they're facing, and then we help them to integrate their subconscious. Okay, so what parts of you are holding you back? Is it external narratives? Are they historical ones? Right? We do the deep dive, we go in and we integrate the parts of yourself so you can actually come out with a new sense of identity. All right. So we're not creating behavioral change. We're actually creating a complete sense of values, confidence, purpose, and identity integration. Now, I want to show you how we actually fix it. And I'll show you the one key part, which I think you might be missing if you are sitting at home trying to conceptualize this, but taking no action. All right, so let's go into this. We call this the identity integration model. And when I work with people, we want to help them achieve 3 key things, and that is to open up, show up, and level up in life. Okay, and where we're really going to focus today is down here in this area of the model. Okay, and what we talk about here, so after we've opened up, after we've worked on balancing our emotions, our perspective, and controlling our environments and socializing, all of the things that you have to do in the preliminary stages, much easier to do with help, by the way, we come down into the candid accountability. And this is where we need to start showing up for ourselves and our friends and our family. And, you know, this is where we need to hear some hard truths. So coming into a secure framework is a really, really handy place for people to come. Okay, so daily accountabilities, weekly cadence, 3 meetings a week, curriculum, people to bounce things off, people to answer your questions and give you feedback. Remember, this is about feedback on an iteration. Okay, practice feedback and iteration. Consistent routines. All right, so coming in and having to show up for things regularly, having to do your daily accountabilities, come to meetings, do your non-negotiables, it actually puts you into a solution, okay? And the number one thing I think is incredibly important is doing it in a community of people that are absolutely dynamic, right? So people that look, feel, and sound like you. And you have to remember, and this is incredibly important, you are not your best sounding board right now, okay? So if you can find someone that you trust and you think they know what they're talking about, it might be me, it might be somebody else, and you can relinquish that for a little while and go, hey, I'm probably not making the best decisions. What do you think about this? Okay? What do you think about the way I'm interacting with my wife or my husband or my colleagues at work? What do you think about the parenting issues that I constantly have? What do you think about these justifications that I'm making every single day? Right? And we also have this incredible ability to see people and the way they are living and engaging with life and point things out to them. Okay? So having that mirror so you can actually see what's going on with complete clarity is very, very important. Okay? So this is our identity integration model, and as soon as you come into it, you're going to have this place down here of candid accountability where you can really go from subpar to performance. Okay, so a crucial piece of the learning. Well, I want to tell you a story. Okay, so if we think about doing the work versus not doing the work, right? You can again sit, overanalyze, overthink, research, it's not going to get you a result. I guarantee you that. Putting it off is even worse. So in September 2023, I met a person and they walked right up to the door of the Delta Path, which is my high-end bespoke coaching program. And they said, I want to join. And then they changed their mind at the very last minute and it happens. That subconscious pull, you know, grabbed them away from the door. One of the most highly intelligent people I've ever met. And his brain would have been going, mate, you don't need this. Don't spend that money. You can, you know, you can do it yourself. You can figure this out. Look at what you've built in other areas of your life. You're a genius, right? And unfortunately, that didn't work out. So 1 year later, almost to the day, I got a text on a Sunday morning and the person said, I need to start today. Send me an invoice, send me the service agreement. And 15 minutes later, the payment hit our bank account. Okay, and the next day he was started. And I said to him, like, why the turnaround? It's been a year. What's been going on? And he said, well, the gambling has been a little bit out of control. And I said, well, tell me about it. Like, how bad? and he said, I lost $3.5 million. Okay? So that little subconscious pull that I was talking to you about, the one that wants you to be stuck and isolated and overthinking and overanalyzing and not taking any action, that's what it can end up looking like, right? $3.5 million. Now, money is not everything, but imagine the flow-on effect of that on him, his stress levels, his health, his happiness, his finances, his relationship, his parenting capacity, his mental capacity. Okay? It's enough to obliterate even the wealthiest person. So that is the cost of inaction. So guys, I want you to remember, if you're stuck in this loop, and like I said, whether you do it with me or do it with someone else, learning is not integration and application is everything. So remember, it's okay to ask for help. We've never been taught this, so don't beat yourself up that you don't have all of the answers. It's okay to actually not understand something at a deeper level, right? You can conceptualize it, but really understanding it is the work. It's much easier to do it with somebody who has walked the path, okay? Who knows the behaviors, who knows the intricacies, who knows every foothold on that mountain that you want to climb. The best people, and I'm so lucky, I've gotten to work with people who are at the top of their fields, world-class athletes, world-class leaders, right? World-class coaches, even in different fields. And what they do is that they know the benefit of coaching, they trust the process, they get in behind me, and they just follow me every step of the way up the hill, and they get a result, okay? This is a trusted, reliable system. It is not hocus pocus. There is a way to do this. There is a science behind it, and we've built an incredible framework that's helped hundreds of Australians break the cycle of addiction, okay? And I want to leave you with this. If you're into golf, okay, and you had the opportunity to take a 1 hour one-on-one lesson with Scotty Scheffler, who is one of the greatest golfers of all time, would you take the 1 hour with him, or would you take 10 hours with the person who had the most PhDs on how to play golf? Okay? Or the person who had done the deepest research on how to optimize your golf swing, right? 10 out of 10, you're taking the lesson with Scotty Scheffler. And I'm not Scotty Scheffler, but I am a person that's deeply qualified, but I've also walked this path myself. I've done it hundreds of times. I've helped hundreds of people to do it, okay? So I am an expert, and my team are all experts. So if you're ready to step out of inaction and you want to come and work with people who understand life and business and come into a community where people look, feel, and sound like you, and actually start doing this work to develop identity integration and figure out who you are and what you really, really want, then book a consult below. The Delta Path, if you want to knock it out of the park. If you want the highest level of bespoke care, that's the program for you. And if you're happy to work in a group and you want to get in and you're happy to do some self-guided learning with the support of some great coaches, then the Circuit Breaker is a great result. Either way, they will get you results if you do the work. And I hope this has been helpful, and I hope that it is outlined to you that you need to take action. Learning is great, it's the first step, but integration is the next and most important and crucial part. See you later. Bye.